We're going to start standard 11 today with skills 1 and 2, and then we'll break and we'll do the next video for skill 3. Skills 1 and 2, we are graphing using the intercepts, and we just finished graphing using a table, and this is a much more, it's a quicker method, and it's a lot simpler than graphing with a table. This requires only 2 points instead of the 5 that we were using in the past. So let's go ahead and turn the page and get started. Okay, so it says quite often equations will be in standard form. Okay, so standard. The easiest way to graph these is to find the intercepts. Now, the word intercept is very close to the word intersect. So what we're looking for is we're looking for our line, which is this one. Okay, so we're just going to identify as like our level 1, identify where our line intersects the x-axis. And where does it intersect the y-axis? And that's going to be our x and y intercept. So here, the x-intercept, the x spot is right here at 3. And that would really be the point 3 over 0 up. And that's going to be important later on. And then my y-intercept is where does this equation cross the y-axis, which is right here at -2. So the y-intercept is at -2. That would be the point when x is 0, my y value is -2. Okay, let's do that again. Again, we're looking for where does our line cross the x and the y axis. So it's going to cross the x axis right here at 1. So our x-intercept is 1, which is really the point 1, 0. And our y-intercept is right here. Where does it cross the y-axis? At -3. Which is the point 0 over down 3. And again, that's going to be important in a minute. So I'm going to pause right here to see if you can find the x and the y intercepts for this last graph. So our answer should be the x-intercept is at 1, which is the point 1 over 0 up, and the y-intercept is at 3, which is 0 over 3 up. I want you to just take a second to notice that when you're finding the y-intercept, the x-coordinate of this point is 0, and when you're finding the x-intercept, the y-coordinate is 0. Remember that it goes x, y. Okay? That's skill 1. We're going to go ahead and turn the page here and go on a little bit farther. So this second skill is the opposite of what we just did. I'm going to tell you the x-intercept, and I'm going to tell you the y-intercept, and then it'll be your job to graph the equation of that line. So if the x-intercept is 3, the x-intercept would be here. Go to the y-axis at -5. That is also a point on the graph. And those are 2 points on this line. These are all linear equations. This works for linear, but not the quadratic or absolute value we've been working with. So it's just a straight line. And there's my graph. Pretty straightforward. Okay, let's do that again. My x-intercept is going to go on the x-axis at 5. So that's right here. my y-intercept of -8 all the way down here at the bottom. That's my y-intercept. We'll put a dot way down here at the bottom if you can see that one. And then I'll connect. Because I'm graphing the entire function, the domain of this function would be all real numbers. So I go ahead and draw the whole function with arrows on the end. Okay, same as before, I'll pause for a minute for you to try this one. And then we'll continue. My x-intercept of -8 is here. On the x-axis, my y-intercept of +7 is going to be up. I can count to 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 right here. Connect the two. Arrows on the end. There is your skills 1 and 2. We're going to push forward in this video to go ahead and do skill 3. If you turned to page 4 will be your classwork on this section so far, skills 1 and 2. But we're going to go ahead and do skill 3 in this video as well. So skill 3 actually gives you the equation. So we're going to start working with the equation now and trying to find the x-intercept and the y-intercept. So the x-intercept always has a y value. So if we're looking for x, the y value is going to be 0. So to find the x-intercept, we are going to plug in a 0 where we see the letter y. So up here in this equation, we're going to put a 0 in for this y, and that's going to tell us how we're going to find the x-intercept. Okay, so we're plugging this right in, just like we did when we were doing tables, just like we did when we were doing standard 9, plugging into a function. So 0 is going to go right here where the y is. So 3x minus 2 times 0 equals 12. 3x stays 3x, but -2 times 0 actually cancels out of the equation. It's gone. So then we have a pretty simple 3x equals 12 equation to solve. Divide by 3. And my x-intercept is going to be 4. So my x-intercept, the dot, where I'm going to put my x-intercept is going to be at x equals 4, which is right here on the graph. I'm going to write that out here. X equals 4, which is the point 4 over 0 up, and that's where I put my dot on the graph. Okay, that's the x-intercept. So now how do I find the y-intercept? Well, it's going to be the opposite of that. We are going to put in a 0 for the x value this time. So we're going to plug 0 in for x. So that's going to look like 3 times 0, what's going to happen there? Minus 2y equals 12. That's going to cancel out. We just talked about that. And we have -2y equals 12. Divide by -2. Don't forget the negative. And my y-intercept is going to be a dot at -6 on the y-axis. So that's up here. We're on this graph up here. Negative 6 is right here on the y-axis. So I just graphed the point 0, negative 6. Connect those two dots, arrows on the end. Okay, now it broke this down for you a little bit, but the one at the bottom here is not going to break it down. So this one, it doesn't have anything kind of written into the space. We're going to graph it right here. So I'm going to do the x-intercept over here and then the y-intercept over here. So when we put in 0 for the y, this piece is going to go away. So to find the x-intercept, I take the x part, which is 4x, and set it equal to 8. Pretty straightforward. Divide by 4. X equals 2. That's my x-intercept, 2, 0. Now to do my y-intercept, I'm going to put a 0 into the x part, so I'll be left with this y part. Divide by 2. My y-intercept is at 4. So my first dot is going to go on the x-axis at 2. My second dot is going to go on the y-axis at positive 4. And then I'll connect them to get my equation, or the graph of my linear function. Okay, we'll pause again on this last one. See what you can do, and then we'll come back right at the end here to say what the answer should be. Okay, just in case you haven't started, remember we're taking the x piece of the equation and setting the x piece equal to 18. If you have started, did you get your x value to be negative 9? Now I know that that's unfortunate because there's only 8 spots on our graph, so I'm just going to go one farther, kind of right there to my negative 9. And then we'll go 3y equals 18. And my y-intercept will be at positive 6. Connect the dots, and there's my linear function. A lot faster and a lot easier than plugging in random values like we did for the tables that we did in Standard 10. Okay, if you turn the page to page 6 is the classwork that goes with Skill 3.